share for 10 to 15 minutes, and then just an overview of, a very general overview about real estate, about the first-time home buying, and then Bob Joy is going to be sharing about the tax advantages for about 10 to 15 minutes also. And if you have any questions, just stop me. It's not going to be like really rigid. I want it to be more fluid. If you have questions, just stop me. If you have a hand, I made some handouts, and so you can follow along with those. Have any of you guys seen that Modern Family episode with Phil Dunphy when he did a real estate class? Anybody see that one?
Yeah.
Oh, it was glorious. So, but no fireworks here tonight. But I really identify with him. He makes realtors look like a joke, but he's really funny though. So, but just a quick, some quick things about me. My designation is I'm a realtor. I got my real estate license in 2010. I'm in the process of getting my broker's license, which just what that means to you guys is that I've invested more in real estate, and eventually I could be a broker owner or own my own franchise. So what that means to the public also is that I'm in it for the long haul. I've invested a lot of money in education and time to get my license. So just one test away from getting it. So hopefully that will go well. Education, went to Johnson High School, Drake University. I graduated with a business management degree. Became a licensed real estate agent in 2010. Personal life, married to a wonderful wife, Amanda Rude, right back there. I have a son. He's not here. He'd be a terror if he was here, but he is 14 months. His name's Max, and then we have another one on the way, so that's exciting. That will be in August. So I attend Walnut Creek Community Church. I'm a lifelong Des Moines area resident. I enjoy playing basketball, reading, beach volleyball, and spending time with family. Awards, I won my first award. I got a Bronze Achievement Award, so not that that's whatever. But that just shows that I know what I'm talking about. I don't like to boast, but it just shows that I'm a full-time real estate agent, and I strive for excellence and I treat people well. If I don't treat people well and do my job well, then I'm not going to be in this business. But thankfully I've been growing every year, and friends and family that I've worked with and clients, they trust me and they refer people to me. So, goals for the class. We give you a very general overview of different types of mortgages. Point 2, give you very general expenses to expect when buying a home. General overview of expenses to expect each month involving owning a home. And then point 4, give you a very general overview of the entire home buying process. Quick thing, I have to do this as a real estate agent. All information herein has not been verified and is not guaranteed. Please discuss information with a licensed loan officer and other professionals, just to cross-reference this. I just have to do that because people get sued. So just don't sue me after this. So moving on to the presentation. Why buy a home? A lot of you guys have been thinking about this, but here are quick 5 reasons. Interest rates are at historic lows. It is currently 45% less expensive to own a home compared to renting the same type of home. There are tax advantages to owning a home. Bob Joy will elaborate on that. Des Moines is consistently voted as one of the best places to live. Then 5, livelihood. People are tired of not being able to paint their own walls and to design their own homes. So people are sick of renting, and so they want to own their own home and have more space. So, next slide, the buying process. Here's just a quick overview. Get cash or a loan, which is a mortgage to buy a home. Point 2, house shop. Point 3, write an offer. Point 4, offer gets accepted. And then the last step, close on a house. So that's just a very, very general, and there's a lot of processes that need to happen in order for this to work out. So we'll get into mortgages. There are really 2 key things to buying a home. One is you get the cash to get the home, and then 2, you need to find the home. Those are the 2 key things. So I'm going to touch on the different types of mortgages. Banks give you the cash to buy a home, and then in order to figure if you can get a home, schedule an appointment with the bank to get pre-approved. This is really important. I've worked with clients before that have assumed they can afford a certain monthly amount, so they calculated out what type of mortgage they would get. And so they house shop based on that, doing their own calculations, but after they get into the process and they find a home that they really love, then they try to get pre-approved, and they find out they can't get the loan to do that. So their heart's broken, and they waste a lot of time looking for a home. So I encourage people to get pre-approved right away. And so get together with a loan officer and make that happen, and then contact me to help you find the house. So different types of mortgages. There are many different kinds of mortgages. I'm just going to hit on a few. One thing to think about too is how long you want to have the mortgage. 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, like how long do you want it to be, the length of time. And then one thing I tell my clients this is that I've heard this before, but mortgage, mort means death, moratorium, engage means grip. So death, grip. So what I tell that to give people some soberness to buying a house, and I want people to trust me, and I'm not in this to it's not about me, it's about my clients. Whether I show a client one house or I show them 100 houses, whether they buy through me from one day showing houses or 5 years, I'm fine with doing that as long as it meets my client's needs. Because my job is finding the right place, but in reality, after I negotiate the best price and have a smooth process, you're left with the mortgage. So I really want people to really have a soberness to getting a loan and realizing that it's that you want to get something you can afford. So, get into general types of loans. If you have to qualify for these. One is FHA. 2 is a conventional loan. Those 2 are the most common, from my experience, that people get. 3 is the next 3 are more specialty programs. The third one is the IFA program. This program details $2,500 for your down payment assistance, or 4% lower on your interest rate if you are approved. And also something that just developed is Terry Branstad reinstated the $2,000 tax credit, and Bob will elaborate that more for first-time home buyers. Point 4 is the FHA 203K rehab plan. Have any of you guys ever seen the show Property Brothers on HGTV where they flip houses? Well, what they do is, quick recap on this show is that Property Brothers, the realtor, they're twin brothers, the realtor, and then his brother is a flipper. He flips homes for people. So some people, they have really high-end taste, but in order for them to actually get that type of home, they need to spend twice as much on that home. So what they do, the realtor says, well, are you open to remodeling a house? And so they say yes, because they realize that in order for them to have their needs met, they realize they need to buy a fixer-upper. So what a 203K rehab plan, essentially just a quick synopsis on this, is that you buy a fixer-upper, and then you get up to $35,000, I believe, for home remodeling money. So let's say you really want to live in a certain area of town, but the location, the property values are too high for you, so what you do is you buy like a house that needs a lot of work, so let's say you buy it for $50,000, and then you get $35,000 for remodeling. That's only if you qualify, but that's something where you can get a new kitchen, new windows, a new bathroom out of the deal. And that just helps. And what you have to do is, like, whatever your total loan amount is, I think generally it's 3.5% down for 2 or 3K rehab. So if you buy the house for $50,000, let's go for easy math. Let's say if you buy it for $70,000, and then you get $30,000 for rehab money. Well, 3.5% of that is $3,500 is what you need down. Not 3.5% of the $70,000 is whatever your total loan amount will be at the end of the day. But that's just something that's kind of slick for people, because people want to remodel the kitchen, but they don't have $10,000 to do it. So you can get a certain specialty loan to do that. The fifth thing is a neighborhood finance corporation. What this 60% of Des Moines, I believe, qualifies for this, but again, what this offers is $10,000 for it's a $10,000 forgivable grant, and also $2,500 for closing costs, and that gives you an opportunity to $10,000 that's forgivable, and that's just a specialty program. So if I was not in real estate, I would not realize that there's a lot of different loans out there that can help you kind of achieve the American dream of homeownership, and also help you along the process of remodeling. So those are just a few different programs. Talk to a loan officer for other programs out there that can help you out. Again, this is just a general overview about mortgages. So, okay, next step, prepare your financial biography. Getting pre-approved means a lender must review and verify a home buyer's income, credit, assets to ensure they can make the necessary monthly payments on a house. In the wake of the housing bust, borrowers must be more forthcoming when it comes to their finances. Your lender should tell you precisely what you need, but be prepared to include. So these 5 things, just be prepared to include these. So if you're going to get pre-approved, these are some things that you just want to have kind of ready to go. So we request these information for you at some point of getting the loan. So that's just something to be aware of. Number 5, some people don't really have an investment income, but if you do, you're going to have to provide that. This is from Ann Stickle, a real estate broker in Sarasota, Florida. So keep this, if you think about getting pre-approved and getting a loan, keep these points right there. Just highlight those because you're going to need to present those to a bank. So pre-approval letter, this is why it's important to get a pre-approval letter. With a pre-approval letter in hand, buyers know exactly how much they can borrow and therefore how much house they can afford. Pre-approval letter shows the seller and the seller's agent that the buyers are capable of buying their house. For most sellers, the issue is not whether they can get an offer, but whether they can close the deal. The key thing from my experience with getting a pre-approval letter, it shows the seller that you can be trusted, and it shows that it gives you more leverage in negotiations. So it's one thing is, from my experience, the sellers say, well, I'm not going to ever budge below this amount. But if they get an offer, and then also they have a pre-approval letter on there, they know that you have buying power, that you are a real buyer. So sometimes they're willing to negotiate a little bit more. But if you don't have that, there's no sense for a seller to really negotiate all that seriously with you. So I just think that having a pre-approval letter helps you stay focused on the budget, but also helps you with your negotiating power. Okay, expenses up front to buy. After you pick your type of mortgage, here are some additional expenses to expect. This is from my experience. One is a down payment. Now this depends on your lender. So whatever your lender is going to require you to bring forward what type of loan you get. 2 is closing cost. Typically it's between $3,000 to $4,000. Again, specify this with your lender, but seller will often pay for these. That's one thing that's nice. So if you're buying a $100,000 house, you get an FHA mortgage, which that's 3.5%. That'd be $3,500 you need down, and then you need your closing costs. But what's the nice thing about this is that the seller can actually pay for those. And then one thing, point 3 is a home inspection. After you get an accepted offer, you have a home inspection. That's anywhere from $200 to $400 depending on who you hire. So you're looking at minimum $4,000 that you need. But I recommend people have a rainy day fund. What I mean by that, a rainy day fund is some experts say it's 2% of whatever you purchase the house for. And so that's for just in case after the home inspection, the inspector missed something happens to the house. So for example, like the furnace goes out or it needs some maintenance that you were not expecting. So if you're buying a $100,000 house, 3.5% down, and then additionally another $2,000. So you're looking at $5,500, and then plus a home inspection. So you're looking at about $6,000. So if you're buying a $100,000 house, you're probably going to need some other things like paint, things like that. But I just recommend people have a rainy day fund just in case something were to happen that we're not expecting. But the bare minimum you need is $3,500. But talk to your lender to get more details about that. So those are expenses up front, monthly payment owed to the bank. So this is where what you totally owe. Each month, this is what you just write a check every month to your bank. The principal is the total loan amount, interest rate that you get locked in at, taxes, insurance, then PMI. Anywhere from $60 to $150 is what I see. It depends on your lender. Whoever you get pre-approved with, ask how much is PMI, how much do you charge? Because there are variations that other banks have. I've had one person, they said they got quoted for $120. And I said, well, shop around. And then another bank, they offered them $70 a month. So that's $50 that they save each month, and that equals to $600 less in payments throughout the year. So it's like you want to really shop that around. Ask closing costs, ask about PMI. So that's just something that's important to know and to figure out. But again, ask your loan officer for more details on that. So you have, not only when you buy a house, you're going to have your mortgage payments. That covers all your mortgage payments that you write. And then they take care of all those other aspects of things. So you write a check, just total of that. Then other expenses, you have, obviously you have your water bill, gas and electric, phone, cable, and internet. And then rainy day fund, we've already discussed, 2% of whatever you buy a house. If you have more, that's great, but that's what some experts have recognized, 2%. So to figure out how much you want to spend, not only do you want to focus on your mortgage amount, but you also want to take in consideration your utilities, phone, cable, and internet. You don't have to have those things, but a lot of people like them. You figure out your total monthly payments. So that not only you're going to have your mortgage, but also your utilities and things like that. When you're looking for a home, you can request 24-month average for utilities from Mid-American Energy, so they'll tell you about the gas and electric, but then also you can ask them what waterworks for a 24-month average. So that's what, when you're shopping, I can help you find that out, so you know how much you want to, so you just know what you're getting into. So after you get pre-approved and figure out exactly what your budget is, this is where I come as a realtor. Some people don't know what I do. I do so much more than put a sign in the yard and just let it sit. I do a lot more. I do marketing. I do market analysis. That's probably my biggest thing. Right now I have a couple listings where my sellers, this is before I was in real estate, but they overspent on houses. And they complain about their realtor, and I don't want to be that type of realtor. I give people market analysis so they know that they're not overspending, or they know exactly. Some people, I tell them, I think that what they're asking is too much, but they just got to have it. And I just say, hey, but you know you're overspending on this. And they say yes. And so I'm up front with people. I'm about telling people about my opinion, and that's just really important to me as an agent, that I want to give my expertise and advice throughout the whole process. So principles of buying, clearly define needs and wants. I have a buyer worksheet that you can go through, and I'll have that out after the presentation if you want to just fill it out, just so you can kind of sort through in your mind what you really need and want. And then also think about, can I really afford the home? You're pre-approved for $150,000, but you're looking at $175,000 houses. There's a huge jump between those two in specific locations. So a lot of times people waste their time looking at things that they can't really afford, and what happens is they have false expectations of what they need in the house, and as a result they get let down. There's a proverb in the Bible that says that hope deferred makes the heart sick, and I just think about that a lot. It's like you want to have accurate expectations. So can I afford the home? Point 3. What would happen if I don't have a renter or spouse helping with the payments? I think that's a really important thing to think about, is that whatever your family plan is, or if you're having renters, I advise people, if you're going to have renters, you need to think about, you need to get the house knowing that you're comfortable with making the payment yourself, not depending on renters, because I think it's a really important thing to think about. And then if you're having a spouse, you got to think about, what if one of us loses a job? What if one of us gets sick? Can we make this on one payment? So I think that's something that's really important to think about. Sometimes banks don't approve you for far more than what you want to spend, and so that you want to really think about, well, what can my family afford? That's really important. And then, do you have realistic expectations in a home with the budget you have? And then asking, point number 5, am I willing to work on a home? All homes will need maintenance and work. There's no perfect home. So that's just something, you're buying a used home, especially in the Northwest Des Moines, in this area, homes are 90 years old and they're going to need work. And also you want to make it your own, so you're going to be wanting to do some general upkeep and things like that. So you just have to figure out how open you are to working on a home. So the 5 steps to buying with Jason: 1 is a consultation, 2 market research, 3 house shopping, 4 finding your home, and 5 your offer is accepted. Point 1, a consultation. I schedule a meeting with you and figure out what your needs and wants are in your budget, and also your location that you want to focus on. Then I learn your goals in regards to a house, and they become my goals. And I work tirelessly for you until I find the right home for you. A lot of times when you're at work, I preview homes on my own. I'm constantly looking on the internet. The thing about certain internet websites you have to understand is that they're driven by internet traffic. So sometimes they have homes that have already sold months and months before, but they're still up there. And they're not as diligent, in my opinion, as that they should. So the general public, they look at them, but they're gone. As an agent, I've invested in thousands of dollars being an agent, and as a result, I have access to the agent website, and so I have the most up-to-date listings. And when I figure out what your search criteria is, I market research it, and I can give you the most up-to-date homes. And then, so that's something I do. So market research, from the criteria you've given me, during the consultation I'll try to find that right home for you. And then house shopping, what I do is after I find the criteria, I send you homes that fit your criteria, and then you tell me which homes you want to look at, and we set up a time. I've shown up to, I think, 15 homes with one client in one day. So it's like we can just look at homes just like crazy until you find the right home. If you're dealing with a tight time frame, sometimes that's the best thing. So the thing about that too, having a buyer's agent, what I do is I guard your negotiating power. And so that sign in the yard, whoever that is, they're representing the seller. And so sometimes I've heard stories where a buyer that goes that the agent shows the home and that buyer can't get over how beautiful the house is and they're going to spend whatever it takes to get the home. So that agent, if they're not an ethical agent, they just relay that to the seller, so you have no negotiating power. And so, so you want to get the best deal possible. But having a buyer's agent, I have a set of eyes that I don't have as much pressure from the seller to sell a house. I can show you that, have a critical eye with you, and then help you negotiate the best prices possible. Point 4, you find your home, and then I represent you through the whole process and negotiate the best deal, and then you're excited about that. After it's accepted, there's a lot of other things that happen behind the scenes, and your letter will tell you about it, but you have home inspection, so I help you get that scheduled, help you meet deadlines. So you have home inspection, you got a termite inspection, making sure that we review those. If the home inspection goes bad, I give you guidance on how to back out and you don't lose any money. And so I've helped clients countless times. Inspection goes bad, but they get their money back and they can break that contract because we have the contract set up that's contingent on that. And so that's just something that is really important that you have an agent. I've had clients before that they didn't have a buyer's agent for them, and so they trusted the seller on whatever they said. And so as a result, they didn't even have a home inspection. So lo and behold, the next spring, they said the basement never got any water whatsoever. So the next spring, they get 6 inches of water in the basement. So they're left with a $30,000 bill. So we live in a world where people are greedy and people are dishonest, and when they're desperate, they act bad. And so sometimes people want to sell their house, they're desperate, and they'll fudge something. So you want to have you want an agent that represents your goals and also represents that is looking out for you best. And so that's just something that I help with to help you curb some of your risk and give you advice about the process. And then that's about it. So that's all I got. That's just a general overview. Did that make any sense? That's what I do. Are there any questions at this time, or any comments or clarifications that I can help out with? All right. So we got. I hit on very briefly about taxes, about tax advantages, owning home. So tax accountant, CPA Bob Joy is going to present on some of the tax advantages about owning a home. So,
thanks, Jason. Thanks. Okay, deep breaths all. Okay. Here we go. All right. Now you're thinking, of course, that it's going to get even duller. Right? Not really. No. First of all, I want to thank Jason for the opportunity to be here tonight. My name is Bob Joy. I'm a CPA. I've been doing tax and accounting work in the Des Moines area for over 25 years, and have my own firm. And I just want to follow up on one thing that Jason said that we've bought and sold homes over the years, but it really is important to have your own agent representing you. It really is. Because if you just call up the real estate place and you get whomever in there, you don't know who they're working for, you don't have any advocate. It really is critical to have somebody that's looking out for your interests in the thing. So I would just really agree with what Jason said on that. It's really worth it. As far as why I'm here, I was supposed to let you all know about the tax advantages of home ownership. Seems like there's at least one person here who's an accounting major going to be a CPA herself, perhaps. So if I miss anything here, let me know on this thing. But yeah, the short of it is you get no tax advantages for renting. You really don't. The government gives you what they call a standard deduction. How many of you here actually do your own taxes? Anybody? Okay, one of you does. Okay.
On TurboTax, does that count?
But you're doing it yourself, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Okay, swell. So you probably pay fairly close attention to it. So you get a standard deduction. For 2013, it's going to be about $6,000, $6,100 for a single person, about double that for family. If you don't do anything else, if you're renting, whatever, you get that standard deduction. The idea is, though, you go out and buy a home, and you have mortgage interest, real estate taxes, and things like that, then that's likely going to end up being more than the standard deduction, perhaps. And so what is called itemized deductions. The nice thing is you get more deductions overall, generally, because not only are you taking those deductions I just mentioned, the mortgage interest and real estate taxes that relate directly to the home, you can take other deductions which you didn't get to before. For example, charitable contributions. You may have charitable contributions to your church or other nonprofit organization, but you get no benefit of that on your taxes unless you're able to itemize. And you only itemize if it adds up to more than that standard amount. And having a home, having those expenses will allow you to probably do that. Or if any of you have unreimbursed business expenses, whether it's for travel or supplies or books or meals or anything like that, you're not reimbursed by your employer, you can't even take the deductions on your tax return generally unless you can itemize. And so not only do you get the direct benefits of the interest in the taxes, but you get to possibly take all these other deductions as well that you couldn't before. So it really is much better from a tax standpoint to own a home. One of the papers you have in front of you mentions the Iowa Finance Authority, and it's a new program that has kicked off. What they're offering is basically percentage credit on your taxes as opposed to a deduction. And without the risk of glassing your eyes over on this thing, basically credits are generally much better than deductions. Deductions reduce your income to which you apply the tax rate. Credits are a direct dollar for dollar reduction of your tax. So credits are almost always better. And so what they're offering in this program is basically it's about 20% up to like the first $100,000 or maximum like $2,000 credit. And so it's a wonderful benefit. I remember when I bought my first home back in 1990, I actually had one of these things. And it's a great deal. Of course, back then I think the interest rate was about 15% or something like that at the time. So again, I'm sure you mentioned it at least 2 or 3 times probably along the way, but man, when my folks bought their first home in 1960, their interest rate was 4%. And of course, growing up, when I first started thinking about those things in the 70s, early 80s, interest rates were 15, 16, 17, 18%. And I thought, how could anybody ever have 4% for an interest rate? Now it's less than 4% in many cases. So this is a tremendous time to try to get into a home. So for all those reasons, it is a great thing from a tax standpoint. Yeah, it may make your tax return a little more complex because you have to do another schedule. And by the way, if you start doing this credit, then you're going to get a new form that you're going to have to deal with on TurboTax or wherever else. This is the form where you're going to claim those things, and I'll save you going line by line through that. But yeah, it's worth it. It's part of getting into the world and growing up in a sense, and you want to take all advantages you can. There's a difference between tax avoidance and tax evasion. My philosophy is you pay the IRS what it's due, but only what it's due. That's tax avoidance. That's a good thing. Tax evasion, not so good. And we're not ever advocating that. So that's really all I have. Do you guys have any questions or any comments or anything for me?
So you're saying if I owe $1,000 on my taxes, I'm a first-time home buyer, so the tax credit means I would get $2,000. So I'd basically get a tax return of $1,000. Is that essentially what it means?
Any question pretty much related to taxes, the answer is always it depends.
Okay, yeah.
Because there's a lot of circumstances involved, but all else being equal, really what would more likely happen is if you were taking the standard deduction of roughly 12, let's say, but now you're up at, now with all this other stuff I just talked about, charitable contributions, mortgage interest, real estate taxes, business expenses, medical expenses perhaps, all these kind of things you can take advantage of now. Let's say instead now you're at, say, 16. Okay? So not only do you get more deduction, but you're going to take this credit, if you're eligible for that mortgage credit, then yeah, that would not only get you that, take that $1,000 and maybe turn it into a $1,000 refund perhaps, but you're also just going to have more deductions overall as well, which will give you more of a refund even in addition to that, depending on your tax bracket, that sort of thing. Sure. Good question. All right. Thank you.
Thanks. That's it.